Hi, my name is Nathan, and today we're going to do a full comic book review of King Spawn, the first story arc, issues number 1 through 6, brought to you by RatedComics. Timestamps will be in description if you want to go from issue to issue. Also, link in description if you wish to purchase any of the comic books, support the art, support the industry. This comic book will be awesome to add to your comic book collection. Last but not least, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy and don't be stingy. With all that being said, let's get to it. We start this issue off with this question. Anyone here know what the Bible is? A teacher named Mr. Reynolds asked the students. A child responds saying that his mom says it's like a comic book. Oh, I know there's lots of monsters, I think, Mr. Reynolds says to another student. Mr. Reynolds teaches his students that the Bible is love, and he reads them his favorite passage. Before he reads, he gets his cell phone and gets something up to send something on it. His student tells him that his phone is beeping, and he tells his students, happy shall he be. Boom! This book literally opens up with an explosion on page 2. Then the narrator finishes the passage, who taketh and slams thy little ones against the stones. This is how they always start, targeting and feasting in spectacular fashion as they can on those too innocent to defend themselves. To me, that's referencing the children. We get another visual of how big this explosion is as the narration continues. The saddest part is humanity is unaware that heaven and hell have been attacking them for centuries, sometimes for sport, sometimes for purpose, to draw out their enemy. There goes our boy Spawn, or at least his hand. Spawn is at the graveyard having a conversation with Jessica Priest, aka She Spawn. Hey girl, hey. Her contacts were part of this investigation show no prior record for that teacher. The teacher taught 30 years without the incident, so Spawn replies with, so he gets to go to the pearly gates with his arms full of trophies? She Spawn doesn't take too kind to the children being called trophies. Spawn clarifies trophies to them, not to me. Spawn is trying to decipher who is behind this explosion at the school. So Mark communicates with Spawn saying he sees no connection to the shadow players with this explosion. He believes this was done by a person. Spawn tells Mark to look over it again. Despite looking over things for the 6th time, Spawn tells Spawn to ease up on Mark, and he's doing the best he can. Spawn tells Jessica that she's a mother and asks, what would you be going through your head right now if you were on the other end of this? And ends with why something this horrible has to happen in the first place. Spawn tells him because mankind does stupid and horrific things every day. Mothers have been grieving for centuries at the senselessness of their lost children. What makes this tragedy so unique? Spawn answers with, it's a message someone is trying to send to me. Spawn holds up a piece that he found in the rubble. Spawn explains that it's sigil. It's a symbol that tells the whole prophecy of what the person is doing. Spawn hasn't deciphered it completely, but he knows that it won't be the only attack, and he knows who he has to go to. Spawn, realizing that a bunch of kids died just to get their attention, weighs very heavy on her emotionally. She feels the least they can do is pay their respects at the funeral. This page shows how the news and the media airways are reacting to this incident, and it's some heavy stuff in here. If you wish to purchase the comic, link in description, by the way. Spawn feels that he's against time to bring vengeance to the parents of those who lost their children. The sigil that PC showed Spawn earlier says there is a list of files with names of every shadow player stuck here on Earth. The angels and demons hiding in human skin on Earth, and Spawn still believes the teacher was one of those shadow players, despite what Mark said earlier. In this dark and eerie room, we see this man on the phone with the senator telling him how to spin this explosion story. He tells the senator over the phone that he doesn't want the narrative to be only about grieving parents and innocent children. He throws in a threat for good measure to make sure the senator sticks to the plan. In short, he wants the senator to say that the school teacher was a law-abiding citizen and inspiration for others, and your heart breaks for the loss of those children, but you're considering forming a new committee in the school safety that add a bunch of sentimental words after that. He hangs up the phone, and this man gets down to business with Miss Leviathan. We find out this man's name is Mr. Raphael, an archangel. For referencing the Bible earlier, that is some name for a mistress. Not to mention, this confirms Spawn's suspicion. Spawn enters the room aggressively. How disappointed would your masters be if they saw your loyal servants in the arms of their enemies? The man tells Spawn that they had a deal and you shouldn't be here. Spawn wants Mr. Raphael to read the sigil. Miss Leviathan tells him that not to listen to Spawn and that he has no dominion here. Spawn quickly challenges that thought and tells Mr. Raphael If he wants his satanic mistress back in one piece, he's gonna do what Spawn asks and decipher that sigil. He reluctantly agrees to do it. And by the way, if I'm saying that name wrong, comment below, let me know. I'm just going along with it. Turns out it's a blueprint, and Spawn wants to know how it ties into the bottom. A group of terrorists of some kind and some files, but the biggest part to all this is they're following Psalms 137 in the Bible about killing children to get their God to reveal themselves. Spawn wants to know who's directing them, but he can't tell. Spawn calls Mr. Raphael on his bull jive and tells him he's got 3 seconds before Spawn gets to 3. The name that is revealed is Metatron. Spawn asks if he's on Earth. Turns out in the previous issue, Spawn trapped some heavy hitters when he locked the dead zones. He adds if propaganda is getting to people online and social media, that Metatron is dictating it. Spawn asks for the location of this Metatron. It is revealed that it's the same place where Hell birthed Spawn. Let's go to New York, baby. So a little bit about Metatron. He was born human, but somehow conned his way into becoming a god, handpicked by the angels. The only human to ever do so. You con God? Okay, you don't say. I'll go with the story. But why did it take him all this time to make his move? One of his goals was to bring the head of a hellspawn to the altar of God. He actually liked serving, but why use children as bait when there are plenty of adult targets to use? Even the mama knows this man is sus and gets her child away from him. We get a demonstration of Metatron's ability when this brother right here asks him for spare change and converses with him without an invitation. He telepathically gets into his head to the point of explosion. Yep, that's right. Take it all in. That just happened. If Metatron's whisper can do this to human ears, no telling what it can do to symbiote covered ears. Sam and Twitch at the crime scene, not certain how to go forward with all this. As serious as they are, this just hits different. I love how they made a call back to who do we call when this kind of stuff happens? I don't know. Let's just call Batman. He might know what to do with all this. Joking aside, Spawn goes down to an abandoned construction site that sits atop of a dead zone. His plan was to hide this portal even though it's invisible to the naked eye. Spawn sees a light beaming and is suspicious about it because it's just too obvious. He believes it to be a trap. Spawn is shocked to see what his eyes see. Metatron's body is splattered everywhere and body literally ripped limb from limb. Just when a threat was introduced, you took it away from us. This is letting Spawn know just how powerful this guy is. Or girl. Metatron was just a pawn. Spawn wonders who the hell is doing this. Meanwhile, 200 miles north of Brooklyn, we get to see this cult and their motive. In Leviticus, he says, eat the flesh of your sons. And in Psalm 137, the Lord implores us to do what? They chant, smash the heads of the little ones. Okay, I'm done with this creepy page. Let's get on with it. We get this guy sitting on this throne, if you will, with skulls on his armrest. And so my flock will leave a pile of bodies so high the entire world will mourn, and that's when the king will reveal himself. All hail King Spawn! I love how we're just left in mystery on who this King Spawn mofo is. We don't know, but obviously I don't feel cheated out this book at all because it's just a heck of a read. As always, I got to leave a little meat on the bone here. King Spawn is absolutely a must-read for all Spawn fans. For those who've been looking for a way to get back to reading the character or jumping for the first time, this story feels like a great place to do either. And you can also sub to this YouTube channel as well because we cover Spawn issues as well as other cool comic book related reviews and content. King Spawn, #1, also features a few backup stories that introduces other characters that tie into the universe of Spawn, such as Haunt, Nightmare, the Hero, and more Gunslinger Spawn, which I'm personally looking forward to myself. So I only gave away 50% of this book. The other 50% are the other backstories that you guys will thoroughly have a good time reading. The potential for awesome storytelling is something that excites me to read further issues of this. There's so much to be had here. This issue opens up with a very scary looking man giving us a sermon. There is a cultist group preparing to enact terrible atrocities on the world, so it seems, and Spawn's time is running out to stop him, and that person is Billy Kincaid, now known as Kincaid. He's talking about the new leader seeing the righteousness of our goal, and he will commune with you in a physical and spiritual way. This new leader will also be like us, willing to make a sacrifice of young souls that so badly want to be servants in the new order. Why do I have a feeling that this will play a part later? King K goes into a backstory how Spawn embarrassed him, serving him up like a stuck pig, imprisoning his soul in deep darkness. But that changed him and transformed him into the master they now follow. It also gave him a doorway into the future, and there goes the cult cheering him on. We see Al Simmons, aka Spawn, pondering in thought from the events of King Spawn issue number 1. You can check out that review if you haven't. 6 kids and Metatron all dead just to get to me out in the open. That's what Spawn says. His frustration is clearly visible as Jessica, she Spawn, and Mark look at him as he grows more frustrated. Jessica goes to talk to Al, and he doesn't see how she can be useful and has an outburst. He doesn't like outbursts, but given his frustration and dumb questions, as he calls it, are just amplified in this specific scenario. Al walks away and Mark doesn't do a damn thing about it. Jessica calls him out on it. The death of those kids weigh heavy on everyone, issue number 1. But all they can do now is try to prevent another tragedy from happening. Jessica goes outside to see if she can offer some advice to him. Al was not looking for any at this time, but she's going to give him some anyway. She tells him, "You're not in this solo, so stop acting like you are. Give us a chance." She asks Spawn about the sigil. It's the symbol that tells the prophecy of what the person behind the killings is planning. Issue number 1 callback. Jessica asks Spawn to give it to Mark, since he's smarter than the both of them and he can run it through his computer matrix and they can go about handling business. Al refuses and turns into Spawn. She calls bulljive on Spawn, telling him that he needs the both of them and to get over himself. Otherwise, why is he keeping them around? She gives him a compelling, no-nonsense speech about bringing closure. He agonizes this for a moment and agrees to let her help him. Now here is a sweet old granny in a sweet old neighborhood. She's the kind of granny that tries so hard to please others while taking on more responsibilities than her age needs to. Upstairs, there's some boom boom going on. In the name of the prophet King K, these two are having a pre-cult ambush and sex before the scheme of the day the next day. The prophet instructs Thomas, the dude, to wear the helmet during their first time. Not that helmet, the one on his head. Not that head, the other head. Granny intrudes and he tells her they were finishing Bible studies, the book of Psalms, and they're almost done. Obviously sweating, it's more like they were getting some. Okay, I'm not sure if I'll keep that joke in there. Going on with the review, in DC we see Spawn looking patriotic. I'm not sure this symbolizes something, I believe it does. He narrates that the book of Psalms has more prophecies than any other in the Bible. All talk about making a new world. Leaving the past behind and crowning a new king, Spawn concludes that if there is a roadmap, DC might be the beginning of their slaughter, or a very crude way to draw them out in the open. Either way, they're living clues to draw Spawn out in the open. Spawn speaks to Mark over the intercom, questioning that it's been 2 hours and is Mark sure about this stakeout. Turns out he's 100% positive as the sigil had been encrypted. This location is where they're at now. Since tomorrow is a more important date, being that it's a 2-day event, Spawn didn't want to take any chances and showed a day earlier. Spawn tells Mark to get himself and Jessica somewhere safe, and he tells Mark that he doesn't need their help tomorrow. His reason for this is he believes he needs someone that he can trust more than them. Spawn is really going through some things right now, and he feels he can trust Terry, but deep down, he feels Terry won't want anything to do with Al. Despite that info, they have a meeting anyway. Talk about trust issues despite Mark helping Spawn out with the sigil. Just a short summary with Terry and Al for those who may not know. Al and Terry were good friends in the military, but when Al died and married his wife Wanda and gave her a child, things were never the same. Terry gives Spawn a partial list that his friend from the CIA gave to him. It contains what the government knows about the shadow players. In other words, the shadow players have infiltrated a government agency. He warns Terry to be very, very careful. The rest of this dialogue between the two is very impactful and powerful. They both have something to lose from it, and this shows it's in their best interest to work with one another, despite their history. The next day, Al and Terry are at the steps of the Capitol building. He is not sure what he is supposed to look for aside from an intruder who is young and armored, which is going to be tough to spot in the crowd full of young individuals. The two kids from the grandmas get ready to do the act. Not that act, the other act. Terry notices them and calls to Spawn. They call for everyone's attention and they tell the crowd that their deaths will be for the glory of the cause, for the future and the future king to come. That is an awesome moment where Spawn uses his cape to block the bullets from the crowd. As always, I got to leave a little meat on the bone for you guys if you wish to purchase this comic. Link in description, by the way. I like how they showed Spawn's inability to work with others, which helps show he's got some growing to do. that he can't be a loner hero. Much of this book deals with Spawn's frustration with not being able to solve the mystery of who is pulling the strings and maybe rushing in too quickly. Spawn and Mark are clearly on his side, but if he had it his way, he'd do this alone, quickly and quietly. But he does need them both, in my opinion. Meanwhile, the enemy gets a bit more fleshing out, specifically the two of the faithful that does the main villain's bidding. This all leads to an attack on the Capitol building. It's quite clear that the buildup to this attack is meant to drudge up the fear and chaos we all felt on the first issue of this book. But it doesn't feel cheap. It's more like a means to show how haunting this villain is. In the end, Spawn is made a sucker, and it'll be interesting to see how Spawn grows from it. He did the unthinkable and fulfilled Kincaid's prophecy. Hint, Kincaid called it out in the beginning of the issue. We begin this issue with Spawn and Terry putting photos on the wall, trying to connect the predators to the victim. Spawn talks about it, it's like we're back in the jungles where it all started, like we're soldiers again. Terry tells Spawn that thing said he wanted you there so the public would see that you'll kill kids. And that's referencing King Spawn issue number 2. You could check out that review. And the fact that you were the last person to see my daughter and won't tell me where she is doesn't give me much confidence, Spawn. And Spawn gets pissed. He's like, what are you insinuating, Terry? Insinuating? I'm asking you where's Cyan. Why won't you tell me? Because you're some superhero with some dark secrets. You're just Al Simmons to me. Same corpse I saw back in the jungle. Damn, you're reminding the dead that he's dead? Spawn gets pissed about that and like pushes him back into the desk. And he's like, you know what, Spawn? What is it? Are you using her so you can get back at me? Or are you just like going to war and you don't care who it hurts? He's like, I like war. And then Terry kind of, snaps back into reality. Like, look, man. And Spawn gets a flashback memory of, you want to know what I've become? I've become angry at everyone and everything that's ever tried to control me. That's what my country did to me. They murdered me so I could become a pawn in some BS war between God and Satan. I didn't want any of it. And that's what Spawn's telling him. And you know how they try to get to me? Do you know? They killed Wanda. We both lost a wife because of them. And they'll kill Cyan too if they find her. That's not gonna happen. This is a war. If you want to try stopping what you're doing, then get mad. But don't direct it at me. Direct it at them. They're your enemy, not me. And then Mark comes in and says, hey, sorry to barge in, but I need to show you guys something. Spawn's like, man, this better be good. And Jessica's looking on screen, and it's different terrorist attacks happening all at once. And it's mentioning Psalms 137 about killing children. An ice cream truck is mowing down pedestrians in Toronto. Another group in Uganda kidnapped a bunch of girls from school. Someone blew up a temple in Iran. It's spreading everywhere. And then when Jessica ran the plates on the ice cream truck, they belong to some guy who's been dead for years. And Spawn knows exactly who it is. It's Billy Kincaid. Jessica tells Spawn, Mark also discovered another Spawn, a feral Spawn in Russia. It's causing riots and is breaking out everywhere. Spawn's like, I'll deal with that later. Jessica, you go to Uganda. Mark, you go to Canada. Remember, these are crazies. They're crazy. They'll kill kids. You guys got to protect them at all costs. I'm going to kill an old friend. And then Spawn looks at Terry. He's like, hey, Terry, back in the day, you were good on the radio. I need you to keep us connected and run the show. You think you could do that? It's like, yeah, just like old times, buddy. And he's like, nah, man, this is bigger than that. Everyone and whoever resists, they'll just annihilate. That's why your daughter's name was on the dossier. They're making their hit list, and no one is off limits to them. No one. And Terry's like, oh man, it's about to be a show. So the license plates on the ice cream truck was a clue from Kincaid. He wants Spawn to track him down. And Spawn's like, okay, back then it was easy. Now, if he wants me to track him down, he's not afraid of me. That means his power has grown. Same with the influence that'll protect him. Children are nothing but toys to them, and they'll be played with any way they choose. And then these two guards in tuxedos like, he's here, just like Kincaid said he'll be. And then Spawn's like, you protect these monsters? He's pissed. They're blasted at him. I love this image of Spawn's cloak just smashing this guy through the car. And he tells him, before you both die, pray I don't hand over your children to them. Rage has consumed Spawn. He enters the house, and the foyer is suspiciously empty. Spawn follows the sound. Clunk, 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 clunk. He walks. He travels. Clunk, clunk. He discovers this kid, and he recognizes this kid from the photo from all the children who died in the school blast. That's referencing King Spawn number 1. And these people are chanting, behold, our miracle, for he will be forever ours. And this dead boy's soul has literally been trapped by these religious monsters for the purpose of making him their slave. No one notices Spawn except for this child. I know you. You watched my mom bury me. Are you here to call me a miracle too? And Spawn's like, no, I'm not. And these people turn around, recognizing Spawn. The king, he's here. And Spawn's, and this is a heck of an awesome image right here. I'm here to avenge your death. He feels his chains flinching like a hurricane, unleashing this unforgiving attack. Chains just going. He just massacres everyone in the room except for his children. And Spawn unleashes a slaughtering of his own, yelling out, they were children! And there's no amount of pain or punishment he can deliver to them that will atone for their unspeakable actions for that slaughtering. And this is a disturbing image with the kid holding the crown. Yes! Hurt them more so you can get your crown. Meanwhile, in Uganda, Terry's talking to Jessica, like, what's going on in Uganda? Come talk to me. And she's like, I'm with a bunch of kids under heavy fire. They're attacked their school. I can't change into my symbiotic Spawn suit in front of them because they're already scared. In Canada, medieval Spawn's getting to work. And he's like, cowardly heathens, you want to hide from me? And then this guy's like, prepare to die, fascist. And he clicks on the button, tick, tick, tack, tack. And explosion happens, and it's just all out going out. And he looks to communicate with Al. Al, can you hear me? Al, he does hear him, but he's too focused on something else. And he's like, Kincaid, where is he? Show yourself! And these clonk clonk footstep sounds are happening, and you could tell by that look in Spawn's face when he yells out, show yourself. It's like anger, but a little bit of fear because you don't know what you're gonna expect. And then Terry cuts out the audio knowing that any distraction could get Spawn killed, and he tells himself, I hope you know what you're doing, Al. As Kincaid emerges from the shadow, Spawn knows things will be harder this time around. And when he emerges, look at this physically imposing Kincaid. This is like some kind of stuff right there. And he is pissed. Kincaid is like, the Lord once told us, assemble the people to hear my words so they may learn to fear me for all eternity. And that fear, dear Spawn, is the thing I feed them. So they will obey everything I say. I'm okay with you killing all the people from before. I will find more, but the boy is mine. This is not going to be that easy of a fight. And before I go any further, I got to reference back to Spawn, issue number 5, because that's what Spawn did to Billy Kincaid the first time around. And that was when he was just a mere human. Now that he's been empowered or whatnot, or have these new demonic powers that we don't know what kind of power level he's running yet, he's out for revenge. Boom! But Spawn flies back, and he's like, oh my gosh. And this really startled Spawn, shocked Spawn, because like, dude, this guy's got some power here, you know? And it's like sadistic evil power that made him into some kind of demonic beast. And the kid is like, is he gonna save me? Kincaid's like, no, he's here to destroy you and everything else in this world, but you can stop him, right? Yes, I'll stop him, just like he stopped your soul from leaving because he shut down the portals to heaven and hell, closed by him, and decks him in his face. And that is some power punch right there. He's the reason for Psalms 137. His power kills children with ease. He can even kill you, Simon. Stomps on his head, kicks him, bites him. Yes, he bites him. And he's like, he bites him because I need your soul, not him. I need to feed on you. Kincaid is going to work. You could clearly see the pain in Spawn's face as he tries taking all of Spawn. Spawn feels the pain and power and the evil darkness that Kincaid is filled with. But guess what? That darkness is a thing that Spawn can use because it's something that he can control too. So he sends it back to attack Kincaid to begin eating him alive from the inside. And once the symbiote's inside, it just rips him apart so he can explode out of him. You can just see the pain with Kincaid. And Spawn goes up to Simon. Simon, he's like, nope, the crown doesn't fit the king. And he's pissed. It's like, what the heck is going on here? Spawn tells Simon, we have to leave. I need you to come with me. Would you be okay with that? He's like, well, he said you want to hurt me. He's like, I know, but the bad guy said lies all the time because he's one of those guys. So you're not going to hurt me. No, I'm not going to hurt you. So he was trying to hurt me. Yes, and because of that, we need to go. And Kincaid snaps his chain. You heard the boy. Puts Spawn into the floor with his face down first. And this is a disturbing image, but you cannot take your eyes off of it. Ripped inside out. Insides showing, exposed. Put on the damn crown. And the boy is like, oh my gosh, it fits. And Spawn's in submission, and we gotta end the book right there. My thoughts on this book is, first of all, it startled me. This is a great book for Halloween. King Spawn is just entertaining, scary, and really fun. I think this is a must add to your shelf. Not because it's a great story, but you will have fun reading this over and over and over again. I'm telling you. Link in description if you guys want to get a copy of King Spawn issue number 3. Now we begin this issue exactly where issue number 3 left off, with Spawn's battle with King Cade. And King Cade is like assembling himself like the Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. King Cade is assembling himself, telling him you cannot hide from your future, Spawn. The only way to prevent that is to take the throne and leave this earth permanently, whether you want it or not. And Simon, the little boy who's dead, it was like, oh wow, the sigil, do you see it? And King Cade's like, I do, child. I see everything. The question is, does Spawn see it too? And in a flash, Spawn sees an entire future unfold where he sees himself dragging others into battle, foreshadowing a future issue. He sees a lifeless Terry on the cross, a world where brothers are at war with one another, a universe waiting to see what he does. We see Spawn sitting on a skull throne with horns protruding out of his head, and Spawn is lord of all of it. And in King Cade's like, embrace your destiny, Simmons. Isn't it exciting? But for now, that is not Spawn's focus. Destroying the monster in front of him is, because nothing will ever justify the slaughter of children. And he takes like the chain, rips the chain up and pokes it right in King Cade's eye. And it's like, is this brother even feeling any pain? He's just laughing at it. And King Cade's like so desperate to protect. What? The innocent? Is that what it is? Innocents don't exist. You should know that by now. We've all been corrupted. Every one of us, and you can alter this path. And his Spawn knows it's a trap to unleash his fury. But you know what? He's gonna unleash it anyway. Spawn is more than willing to fall into this trap. And he just pounds away, pounds away, pounds away. And look how it gets blurred and distorted in the green around Spawn's eyes and mouth. You can tell this brother is furious. And he punches King Cade all the way until there's nothing left of his enemy but dust. I'm like, dude, that's freaking vicious, bro. And even the kid's like, well, damn, Spawn, did you have to hurt him so much? Yeah, I did. He was bad. And Simon's like, well, you forgot about your crown, don't you want? He's like, I don't want that crown. And the voice comes up saying, you don't know what you want, Spawn. Not yet. And the Simon's like, is that my mom? He's like, oh, that is not your mom, my man. I know who that is. And it's a mystic woman, the Oracle. She works for Gaia. Legend has it, Gaia has many names, but the name that we most have settled on is the term Mother Nature, as a way of defining her effect on the world. But for eons, she has been watching heaven and hell battle endlessly fight over the souls of humans. But each time she has returned to teach them a lesson, very little life was ever spared. So this girl, the Oracle, tells Spawn, you guess what? Your world is on borrowed time. My mistress Gaia is coming, and when she comes, her judgment will be harsh towards those with power who stood idly by. And Spawn's like, is that a threat? Nah. Just an observation. Then your master is blind, says Spawn. Oh, I disagree. She's been watching quite intently about this war and how it tears apart her planet, her garden. Greed, human or otherwise, has led to poisoning your air and lands. Unlike so many of you, Spawn, she will not remain idly by. And she's wiped you guys out once before. She will do it again. And all that you fought for will be for nothing. And then Simon's like, including me and my friend Mr. Spawn? Including you, Simon, Cyan, Terry. Your friend Spawn here locked all the dead zones wanting to keep evil away, but he never stopped to think that he also trapped every human soul hoping to leave this earth. Instead, he cursed him to an unwanted purgatory. Except one has found the way, haven't they? And soon, he'll transform into your greatest enemy, and that's foreshadowing Spawn right there. And even Simon's like, oh my god, I see it. He's not by himself. There's so many of them. I think we should go, Mr. Spawn. The Oracle's like, hey, Spawn, they will tempt you. Offer everything you wish for to get the child. Well, Spawn's like, they ain't got nothing to offer. Well, we both know that isn't true. If you really want to protect the kid, you'll have to come with me. I thought we were friends, Spawn. No, we weren't friends, little guy. We were just pawns. Take care of him. And as Spawn reflects, Simon said them. He saw multiple beasts coming this way. But now that I know, let them come. And he calls out for medieval Spawn. Medieval Spawn, do you read? And he's like, yeah, I do read. What's up? Well, that van over there. Clear out the citizens. Check out the van. That may be explosive, but be careful. What do you see? Medieval Spawn's like, okay, there are metal boxes, It sounds like surveillance. It has something to do with Psalms 137 repeating the same things over and over again. And Spawn deduces someone is spending big money over on this attack in this organization. Medieval Spawn sees on the screen there's a creature that he's seen, and that's referencing Spawn issue 316. And Spawn tells her, I need you to get out of there. I'm sending coordinates to teleport to Jessica's position. So seconds from now, Medieval Spawn will appear in Uganda near the forest outside of Kampala, where Jessica has turned into She-Spawn. She's trying to rescue a group of young children racing for their lives from a legion of Psalms 137 members. So as she's protecting these kids are like, are we gonna die? No, I promise you, no one's gonna get here. Do you know how to use this? Take this. You see anyone you don't know, pull the trigger. That's all you got to tell a kid, and minutes later that child does exactly that. She-Spawn uses a gunfire to cover, she slip away so she can hunt down her enemies. Now she has skills, her strengths, she can easily break their bones, but for others, she does far worse by punching this brother through the head. You got brains and chunks. Oh my god. This is awesome, man. So Medieval Spawn teleports like, Jessica, you alright? Well, we could have used you sooner, but you're here now. So Terry on surveillance is seeing these 137 terrorist snipers are surrounding them, and he tells Jessica, Medieval Spawn, that they're a threat. You guys are surrounded. Get out of there. Can you hear me? And they can't hear him, and they don't hear his warning. She-Spawn and Medieval Spawn may survive the gunfire, but the kids won't. She-Spawn has grown used to not having Spawn on her side. All she can hope for is now is that Medieval Spawn is a worthy replacement. But before she can find that out, vengeance has arrived in the form of pissed off Spawn going ham, shook, fuck, and just going ham on these terrorists. And She-Spawn tells these kids, all of you go, run, hide, I'll come for you soon. Actually, it'll be sooner than what she thought. Now you just see all this horror and blood and gruesome brutality going on. Even She-Spawn's like, Spawn, this is not like you, bruh. Now, Spawn hasn't been back in Africa for a long time. The Oracle said everything that Psalms does is to manipulate him. First, they bring him back to his childhood neighborhood. Then it was Washington. Now here, the same jungle that Spawn took his last breath as Al Simmons, where they killed him. Someone's messing with his past, and they know this is where he also became Spawn. So Spawn tells them, search for the bodies, look for anything connected to Botswana. Botswana, just do it. He's like, when you're done, get coordinates from your visual on that Spawn with the black spikes. I guess it's plague Spawn. I'm not sure if I remember that correctly. I'll meet you guys at the base. We're heading to Russia. But Spawn's already gone, and he disappears. And even Medieval Spawn foreshadows, he makes it sound like he's some bloody king already. Back in Spawn's base, he says he gets it. This is all about the Genesis, how all the lords had their history. That's what Psalms 137 is doing. They're bringing me back to his origin story, but the only person that knows that story is Terry. And Spawn tells Terry, grab your things, we're going to Botswana. I think this is an awesome issue, man. Each issue of King Spawn, in my personal opinion, gets better and better. I love how they get more horror elements to it, and they add the mystery element to it too. I'm not sure how many more issues of King Spawn there's going to be, but I'm looking forward to this. Is an exciting read. And if you guys do decide to purchase this comic, link in description. Support the art, support the industry. This issue is, I'm definitely getting jiggy with this. We begin this issue where issue number 4 left off, where Spawn tells Terry we got to go to Botswana. So we get a flashback of Botswana many years ago. This was Al Simmons before he became Spawn. His mission was to find the head of an army using children as soldiers, then executed with prejudice. And pretty cut and dry mission, right? Then again, this is the military. He knows that how civilians like to look at the world, that things like war are simply just good and evil, but it really isn't. It's not really cut and dry. It's complicated. There's always more dead and more bodies being dead than what's planned. And these missions seem to be based on reasons to save lives and something more irrational. As certain government bodies, they want to keep gas prices cheap, land titles in proper hands, or here in Botswana, that diamonds remain readily available. That's the trade here. That's the whole point of this war. So the specific warlord in this territory thinks he could trade those jewels for political power. We see Spawn looking at a picture of a kid that's his target. And at his destination, when he arrives at this hut, he knows there's no one guarding the door, and the door is open. This is a trap, but he's been through this shit before. So we see this kid talking, and he tells whoever is on this intercom, we had a deal, remember? You said you get rid of Botswana's defense in the area. Where are you now? Spawn's outside, tells the kid, puts his hand up in the air. Don't mess with me, kid. Well, who are you talking to? When is the guy? General Wynn is Simmons' commanding officer. He's the one fronting all this? And then Spawn notices a guy's mutilated hand that there's Psalms 137 Bible verse written on it. Kid tells Spawn, don't shoot. I love America. We give you diamonds to your soldiers. It's a trade. Al Simmons like, what? No, you send kids into war. That's what you do. The kids don't go into war. They're volunteers. Are you the help? Are you the one being sent here to help us out? And that's when Al Simmons realizes this kid is just a pawn and he doesn't even know it yet. So he gives him his gun and tells the kid, shoot anyone that shows up like me. Shoot him before they ask any questions. Just shoot him. Do yourself a favor, kid. Al realizes he's been sent on too many missions in too short a time. And with each assignment, Simmons' mental health is further stressed. He looks at a picture of Wanda and just can't wait to come home and just caress that soft body or whatever. So a man like Al can only be blindly loyal for so long. And then out of nowhere, we see someone has a target on his head and shoots him in the head, and that's the exact moment Al Simmons became Spawn. So I love the little bit of a deeper dive of the backstory of how Al Simmons became Spawn and what Botswana has to do with it. Priest, are you there? That's what Intercom says. Could this be Jessica Priest? She's Spawn back in Spawn's past, but Spawn doesn't recognize this because in his memory, he has no idea who shot him and why. And she currently disposes the body, and we get this awesome image of just back and forth flashback, or what this sigil is all about. It's being mixed together with other names, Jessica, the Disruptor, God, and all their names are clawing inside of Spawn's head. What does the sigil need from him? It wants him and Terry in New York and Botswana, but at the same time, it's obsessed with Spawn to unlock the days when Spawn first became Spawn. But why? That's the question that Spawn asked himself. So back in Botswana, Terry tells Spawn, you still haven't told me exactly what we're doing here. Trying to find how the Psalms 137, a low-level terrorist cell, got their hands on U.S. military grade. But we all both know that our contact in this place was Wynn. Terry is like, I know, but since he died, I don't know who's in charge of operations here, but whoever it is, we're gonna need a lot of firepower. Spawn's like, oh, we got that covered, baby. So I love this back and forth flashback panel when Spawn's walking down the hill, the same terrain as those many years ago. It's deja vu memory again, but this time he knows he's the target and he is the target now. The only difference is he knows it, and when he arrives at the hut, he sees the writing in blood, the king returned. Terry, do you read? And a voice behind him tells him, he can't help you, Simmons. And the Disruptor blasts him with the energy blast from behind. I knew you would return back to where it all began, Spawn. For you. Those I worked for didn't think you'd come back, but I knew you would because you couldn't resist because you're a good soldier. The sigil gave you an order and your training forces you to do what you were told to do. And Disruptor tells Spawn you shouldn't involve people. Terry's there. That shocks the heck out of Spawn. See what happens when you just don't listen? Take the crown, Spawn. Open the door so the servants can worship. None of us will get what we need until you take that freaking crown. And Spawn's like, who told you I couldn't come? Now that you're here, you're not that stupid. The sigil, it's the sigil controlling this. And I know what you're thinking, Spawn. You're wondering who controls the sigil. If you want the answer to that, open the dead zones because you shut them all down before. Then you'll know when you see who comes crawling through there that you'll know who's controlling the sigil. If that's what you desire, open the freaking dead zones. And they fight, and this energy blast of distortion, and Spawn using all of his might to try to take down this Disruptor. And he's like, what? I give the orders here, Spawn, not you. You hear that, soldier? Not you. And this is a gangster panel right here that is shows Spawn, little bits of flashback. And this brother is fighting Spawn as if he knows him. Get up, you coward. I taught you better than that. Spawn's like, what? Something doesn't seem right here. Calistio's the only one that ever tried honing my powers when I became Spawn. He trained me, and when Spawn tries to get up, his limbs are limping. He's gotta be in excruciating pain. You never taught me anything, bro. If you did, you would have been smart enough to know to stay the f away. Well, he probably didn't call him bro. Anyone willing to kill children just to get my attention knows I won't rest until you're all dead. But now, I need to know who you are first before I kill you. And he uses this chain to knock the helmet head off of him. And the reveal of who this freaking guy is just... I remember this guy from the Spawn 1997 movie, Jason Wynn. And he's the man who started it all. Then and now, may God help everyone. So this was a fantastic movie. I don't know what it is. This King Spawn series, in my opinion, just gets better and better. Once again, definitely worth adding to your comic book collection. I had a hell of a time reading this, and I'm looking forward to issue number 7. And I can't wait another month for issue number 6, not 7. I gotta wait 2 months for issue number 7. Link in description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection. We begin this issue exactly where we left off in issue number 6. Spawn is fighting Jason Wynn, the Disruptor, the one man who bested Al. Feel that burn in psychoplasm, Al. It's been a long time since you felt it, says Jason Wynn. When America was trading weapons for influence in his region, I traded my soul as an insurance policy against you, ensuring I'll always be your commander. But when Jim Downey killed me, that's when the demons came. When they made me their slave, their dog. And that whole time I told myself, you'll pay for my pain, Spawn. And Spawn screaming in agony and pain as he's getting blasted by the psychoplasm. I run through things that normal men don't survive. But you and I are different, Al. We ain't normal, not because we're soldiers. No, it's because we do anything to survive. That's why we different. We literally go to hell and back and trade our souls. You know how long I was in the inferno? Forever! I was your slave! And what was done to me, even you be shocking. This picture by the artist Fernandez is an awesome picture of whatever this demon in hell. It's just awesome to look at, man. And then we get a visual of Jason Wynn and his cellmate with Kincaid. And Kincaid's banging on the cellmate. Give me a chance. I can do it. I'll kill Spawn for you and eat his face. Shut up, says Jason Wynn. And Kincaid tells Jason Wynn, you'll see. I'll make Spawn fall to his knees. You just need to get me out. And the disruptor comes and opens the door. We see him in the shadow, and he's about to free them. The only way that happens is for you to bend your knee first. But it came with a task attached. Deliver me King Spawn. Jason was like, that's the first time I heard them call you that. They never explained why they used that term, but they knew you were the only one who ever had enough power to lock the dead zones. So Kincaid and I did what we do best. Focus on getting your attention, and Kincaid killed children while I built a financial pipeline that gave me what I wanted. Then I rebuilt myself, and it shows him how he puts the pieces together to become the disruptor under the Exodus Corp. If you hear, says Spawn, then the dead zones have already been breached. No, but there's a small crack at best, but only one can get through. So, and that takes too long, Spawn, so we need you to open it wide open. Why, says Spawn, so you can kill more children. I'm sorry if I'm yelling, but this is an awesome issue thus far. And also, Kincaid's backstory, being through hell and back, that is sick and tormenting right there. But it's such a good and compelling story why he has so much hate and anger in his revenge. You're not listening to me, Al. You never did. He haymakers him with this helmet to the ground. They think you're a king? Take that victory, Spawn. Aren't you tired of being just a soldier in this war? And then meanwhile, a voice off panel says you dropped something, Jason Wynn. And it's Terry. When Spawn knocked over Jason Wynn's armor off, a piece of his armor got dislodged and Terry's wearing it. So now he gets to blast Jason Wynn with his own weapon, the psychoplasm. But Jason Wynn's like, walks up to him unfazed, and this art's amazing right here. You pitiful worm. That's awesome, Dolly. You were just a pale comparison of Al, always hiding in the shadow. You want to be like him so much, you stole his wife and got her killed. And now look, you're not smart enough to know I'm not a hellspawn, so my psychoplasm doesn't hurt me. Terry, don't, says Spawn. And as he approaches Terry, you know it's about to go down, and just clobbers him in his jaw. And you could tell the punch like that from an enhanced strength, the minimum you were looking at is a dislocated jaw, which that's what it looks like. They describe this as a horrific car crash when metal slams into human flesh, and it's never good. Unlike the dead zone, said Disruptor, and all this suffering will end. Well, I might not want it to stop. I want the pain, says Spawn, so I can remember what you've done. And he unleashes his chains, what each and every one of you has done to me, and just goes to work on the Disruptor. And the Disruptor has no choice but to hit a button on his wrist, and Jason Wynn did the smartest move you can do with Spawn unleashing that kind of haymaker on him. Suicide. But guess what? He's alive, but he's damaged to himself. Terry's body screaming in pain. The body caught in the battlefield between gods. And then Disruptor Jason Wynn is like, why? Why couldn't you just listen to me? Just accept your destiny and take your damn kingdom. But when Wen hears his victim, Spawn puts his feet on his hand, stopping him in his track. And he meets a man who lost everything he ever cared for when he was alive. Pain. That's the only thing that gives him meaning. Pain. You know, that makes sense actually right there. Pain gives him meaning. The more of it he has, the more it drives him. And he cracks his helmet open. Screw your helmet. I want their names, says Spawn. I want the names that freed you from hell. And Jason was like, Wanda. What? His dead wife? What did you say? Humans are coming back, Al. Me, Kincaid, why not her? Think about it. If you don't believe me, Al, follow the sigil if you don't believe me. Let it show you those kids. Psalms 137. And Spawn thinks about it. He's like, he gets pissed. You calling my wife's name. You speaking dirt in my wife's name. Who freed you? She freed you? Well, tell you what, you want to live by their biblical rules, says Spawn, then you'll suffer by them too. An eye for an eye. And he takes out in his eye. Damn, brother, I don't know what that looks like Samson from the Bible too, but you know what? That is horrific stuff, but it's awesome. For hell hath no fury like a Spawn scorned. Terry, in his dislocated jaw, is like, oh, Wanda, hold still, this is going to hurt. And you know he snaps his jaw into place. You get a glimpse of his eyes right there. That is awesome. Terry nearly passes out from the pain. And you see Wanda in the back of the flames. And it's like, dude, he can't be serious. If Jason Wynn told me to follow the sigil, New York is where the sigil's at. Terry, we are going to New York. Spawn keeps replaying the same thought. If we came back, why not Wanda? And then we see Terry Wynn with his under his breath. Simmons is coming. But Wynn sends a message to who? And it's at that house in New York. In King Spawn issue number 3, where Spawn just pummeled Kincaid to dust or blood or freaking crock pot meat soup or blood soup or whatever. The tactical team searches the premises. But what are they looking for? Is it the boy Simon that was taken by the Oracle? No. This is an Exodus Foundation. The money behind Psalms 137, their goals are more sinister. And this guy, I remember him from, I think his name is Jericho. I remember him from Spawn's universe. You have it. Kincaid's boat. It's enough. Gather the rest of his remains. Then get out of here. He gets on the phone. Is it done? Whoever's talking to him on the phone. Yes, we found the bones to place alongside the islands. Disruptor told us we'll have a guest soon. Good. And so we must prepare the throne. Behold! The throne. And that's where we end this issue right here. I got to say, this is by far the best issue of King Spawn in my personal opinion that I've read. This is definitely worth the price to add to your comic book collection. Link in description if you wish to purchase this comic book from RatedComics.com. But I had a fantastic time reading this issue. It's awesome. The truth behind Jason Wynn and what he endured to become the Disruptor. And dude, man, I'm looking forward to issue number 7. I don't know how many issues this is, but dude, I ain't got nothing else to say, but this is just a gangster issue. Probably one of the best issues I've read of King Spawn. With that being said, King Spawn, issue number 6. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. And also, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy and don't be stingy. Here at Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.